welcome to yet another economics class. Today, we are going to take a look at a segment that is concerned about production. As we have seen in our previous class, the definition of the definition of production and some elements that has to do with production. Today, we are going to see this segment, which is division of labor. But before we see the definition of this segment, we need to define labor once again. Labor is one input among other factors of production that are used to make output or to make goods and services. Labor is the effort of human beings that is needed in the production process to make goods and services. So this effort can be of different categories, as we have unskilled labor. This refers to the kind of effort of human being that does not require any form of qualification or any skill. That means it is a mere physical ability to deliver services. For example, if somebody is asked to wash a car, I think everybody can do that without any qualification or any skill. So this is unskilled labor. Then another category is semi-skilled labor. So by this category, we mean it is the human effort that is in between unskilled, but it is not fully developed. That means a situation whereby an individual has qualification, but doesn't have competence to perform an activity very well. Then that labor is referred to as semi-skilled. For example, somebody that attends secondary school, but maybe has not gone to tertiary institution and has not developed any skill. So that person, the skill I refer to here as the craftsmanship, for example, like tailoring, welding, or whatever. So in this case, that person doesn't have any competence, but he is differentiated from unskilled. At least he can be illiterate and he can do something better than an unskilled labor. The last one is skilled labor. This is the last category of labor that describes a human effort that is fully developed and has competence. For example, that of a medical doctor or an engineer or a teacher or a lawyer. In this case, having the requirement, that is the qualification and the skill, the person can perform an activity that not everybody in the society can do that until another person in that profession can do it. For example, an engineer can make design of a building, a bridge, or a road. So until we get another engineer, then we cannot have that skilled labor. So these are some of the categories that we have under labor. Now, by division of labor, we mean it is the system of breaking down a production process into stages which is handled by an individual. As we have described in our previous class, that production is the use of resources to make output. So whenever there is a need to use these resources to make output, then we know that we have to engage in a process alongside the activities that are required to produce the output. So this process, in some cases, has to be broken down into stages so that each one is being taken care of by an individual. But this depends on the complexity and the capacity of the firm. Some firms that are very small in size or in capital, they don't have the capacity, so they may not apply division of labor. But in the case whereby the firm is large, it has to use this principle, that is division of labor. For example, in a bakery, we know that it is a place in which the production of bread, cake, and other related goods are being produced. So we know that in that process, there is a need to hire as many people as possible, depending on the capacity of the bakery. So if there is this need, then we know that the process has to be broken down into stages in which each individual will be given a responsibility to perform or a duty to do. For example, in the process of producing a bread, there is a need to mix the flour. So this stage will be performed by an individual person or a group of individuals. Then after the flour is mixed, then it can be taken to another stage in which it will be molded. So by molding, after mixing the flour, then there is a need for another individual to perform this activity. After molding, then cutting. So when the flour is molded, then it will be cut into pieces. That is, this pieces is the one that is going to be baked into bread. So by cutting the pieces, then the flour will be transferred to another stage in which it will be used for, or it will be taken to an oven. So by taking the pieces of the flour into an oven, that means it will be given time in which it will be baked. So that stage is performed by another individual. After the pieces of the bread is being baked, then it will be removed from the oven and will be packaged. And finally, it will be sold to consumers. So as we observe this process, we can understand that at each stage, there are individuals that are required to perform the activity. So by having the individuals, then we can say that the process is broken down into stages. And we can understand that there is the application of the division of labor in producing bread. So this is also applied to as many firms as possible. Let me write down the process in short in which a bread is being produced. For example, in a bakery, we have flour as a raw material. Even though the flour is not the only raw material, it is used alongside other things, but we have just taken it as an example. So this flour needs to be mixed. So there is mixture here. So by mixing the flour, it is carried by individuals. As I said, it depends on the capacity of the firm. If the firm is financially capacitated, it can hire as many people as possible, depending on the demand of the bread in the market. Then after mixture, then molding. Or, in some cases, kneading. So this is another stage performed by individuals. The next thing is cutting it into pieces. This is also performed by yet another. All these individuals are the labor or are the workers. Then taking the flour into oven. Or the pieces into oven and removing it from the oven. This activity together can be performed by individuals, the same people. Those that take it into oven can simply bring it out. Then packaging it. Packaging the pieces. So at this stage, the flour is already, it has already become a bread. So it is performed by another group of individuals. Then finally selling it. Selling the bread. This one is also by some individuals. So when you go to a bakery, you cannot, or the bakery entrepreneur may not ask the salesperson to mix the flour because it is not his work. And he may not even ask those that are cutting the flour into pieces to sell the bread because it is also not their work. So as you can see from these simple stages, we can understand that there is a need for the application of division of labor. So having understood the definition of division of labor, we now move to another thing, which is factors affecting division of labor. So there are some things that are influencing the use of this principle, among which is the size of the market. By this factor, we mean the nature or the extent to which the good is being demanded in the market. If it is discovered by the entrepreneur that his products are more demanded in the market than any other product, then it is up to him to find out how he can make use of this principle by hiring as many workers as possible so that he can break down the production process into stages in which each individual will be handling the stage. And this will help to have the massive production of the good. But if otherwise the goods are less demanded in the market, then the application of the division of labor will be a waste of resources, because at the end, the production will be very massive, as I said, but when it is taken to the market, instead of making profit, it will make loss. The second factor that is affecting this principle is the availability of labor. Now, no matter how a firm wants to use this principle, as long as there are few individuals that are ready and willing to work for the firm, this application of this principle will be not a reality. That means it cannot be possible, because the firm will be out there looking for workers to employ, but will only find very few people to use to produce the goods and services. So if there are many people that are ready and capable of working for the firm, then it will be easy for the firm to hire them and apply this principle. The next factor that has influence on the application of division of labor is availability of capital. That means the capital a firm is having, how financially capacitated a firm is. Does it have enough money? Does it have enough machinery? Does it have enough equipment? If all these are available to the firm, then it can hire as many people as possible and break down the production process into stages, which is going to be handled by the individuals. But if otherwise the firm has very few limited equipment, so hiring many people will render the people having nothing to do. They will even become redundant without doing anything to the firm, and it will be a waste of resource instead of using them to efficiently produce the goods and services. Now, the next factor that is affecting division of labor is the nature of the product. That means how the product is. Is it in terms of good or in terms of service? If the product requires many people for it to be produced, then there is a need to hire as many people as possible. For example, in the case of aviation service, if an entrepreneur wants to operate an aviation firm, he knows that he will hire many people in terms of the security, watchmen, in terms of the pilot, alongside other people or personnel that are needed to render the service. But in some cases, in some products, they do not require as many people as possible. So it depends on the nature of the product, as I said. If the entrepreneur identifies that his product is so complicated, or the production of the product, the production of the good or service is complex, then he knows that he has to employ as many people as possible.